During a covert mission in the United Arab Emirates, a special team breaks into a heavily secured facility to steal highly classified data. Just as the download begins, their handler, Nigel, suddenly warns them over comms that Crown already knows they're inside and orders an immediate abort. But the team refuses to leave empty-handed. Before the transfer can finish, armed enemies storm the building, brutally wipe out the entire squad, and the live feed cuts out without warning. We then jump to our favorite CIA analyst turned disaster magnate, Jack Ryan, who's now living a quiet life in New York City after leaving the agency. These days, he works at a hedge fund and tries to stay far away from international chaos. But during his morning run, Jack notices a suspicious car following him through the streets. After trying to lose them, he finally gets cornered outside a bookstore, only to discover the man tracking him is none other than James Greer, now serving as the CIA's deputy director. Jack immediately gives his old boss a hard time for not simply calling him, but Greer jokingly asks, "Where's the fun in that?" Seeing these two back together instantly brings back that classic Jack Ryan energy. Jack already knows that Greer showing up in person can only mean trouble, so before Greer can even explain, Jack shuts him down with a firm no. But Greer insists he's not trying to drag Jack back into the CIA permanently. He claims it's just a small favor. He needs Jack to travel to Dubai and pick up a package from Nigel, the nervous and overly cautious contact from the opening mission. The intel involves an old joint operation between the CIA and MI6, where the Americans secretly spied on their own British allies. To make sure nothing goes wrong, Greer also sends Mike November along for backup and protection. After some hilarious back and forth between Jack and Mike, Greer casually welcomes Jack back to the team. Jack points out that he never actually agreed to any of this, but Greer already knows him too well. The flight to Dubai has already been booked. Even while boarding the plane, Jack can tell this mission is far more dangerous than Greer admits. If this were really just a simple pickup job, Mike wouldn't be checking for surveillance every 5 minutes, and Greer could have easily sent Mike alone. Mike, meanwhile, is mostly excited because it's his first time flying first class. Once they arrive in Dubai, Jack uses his hedge fund position as the perfect cover story and attends a major financial meeting with local officials. During the discussion, politicians proudly praise the country's booming economy under the new regime, but Jack bluntly points out that the same regime has also created growing international tension and hostility. After the meeting, a colleague named Arya tries to reassure him by saying his presentation went perfectly, though Jack can tell she's just being polite. Before meeting the contact, Mike hands Jack an earpiece, revealing that neither he nor the agency actually knows what kind of data they're supposed to retrieve. Jack arrives at the docks and finds Nigel waiting aboard a boat, while Mike stays outside keeping watch. While monitoring the area, Mike notices a mysterious woman following him and immediately becomes suspicious. Things go sideways almost instantly. Nigel suddenly pulls a weapon on Jack, refusing to believe Greer would send someone else in his place. As Jack tries to calm him down, Mike notices the woman running toward the boat and quickly warns Jack to get out. The moment Nigel notices Jack wearing an earpiece, his paranoia kicks into overdrive. Convinced that Jack is working for the enemy, he bolts toward the upper deck. Jack chases after him, trying to explain, but Nigel blurts out something far more important. He tells Jack that he isn't the one in danger. Greer is. Before he can explain any further, a hidden assassin suddenly takes him out. At the same time, the woman Mike had been tracking appears with a gun pointed directly at Jack, ordering him to put his hands up. Jack obeys, for about 2 seconds. He quickly dives off the boat, managing to grab a cigarette pack Nigel secretly handed him moments before dying. Unfortunately for Jack, his closest escape option turns out to belong to Nigel's killer. The assassin immediately starts driving the boat like a complete maniac, trying to throw Jack overboard. For a guy who constantly insists he's just an analyst, Jack handles himself surprisingly well in the fight. After finally overpowering the assassin, Jack starts demanding answers, but before he gets any, a sniper round tears straight through the man's head. And that's when we meet Liam Crown, the same man responsible for wiping out the entire team at the beginning. Moments later, Mike arrives in a rescue boat, but before they can process anything, the mysterious woman suddenly returns and holds both of them at gunpoint. With Dubai police flooding the docks, they have no choice but to follow her. She takes them to a hidden MI6 safe house and introduces herself as Emma Marlowe, an MI6 operative. Emma reveals that she already knows exactly who they are, including details about the infamous Karachi incident that destroyed Greer's reputation years earlier. According to the official story, Greer killed an important asset to save himself. But the truth is much darker. After the events of 9/11, a Black Ops program known as Operation Starling was created out of anger and desperation. The group operated without limits or oversight. They tortured prisoners, manipulated people through psychological warfare, armed terrorist groups against rival enemies, and left a trail of bodies behind them. The asset Greer was accused of killing wasn't actually killed by him at all. He was tortured to death by operatives Greer himself had trained. As Starling spiraled out of control, governments needed someone to take the blame. Greer chose to carry the burden himself, protecting everyone else involved without exposing the people who helped create it. One of those people was Liam Crown. Jack is completely blindsided by all of this. Emma basically tells him that if he wants any chance of surviving this mission, he should start listening to her because she clearly knows far more than he does. The group later travels to the UK, where Emma's boss, Andrew Spears, immediately tears into her for disappearing and secretly following Nigel without authorization. Nigel had been an MI6 officer, and Emma became concerned for his safety, so she tracked him on her own without telling anyone. Not long after, Greer arrives in London after receiving a threatening call from Liam Crown demanding Jack's location along with the stolen Starling files. Greer finally fills in the missing pieces. The two agents murdered during the opening mission were Mark Whitaker, a former CIA operative, and Tobias Wilkes from MI6. Greer explains that he shut down Starling long before Jack ever entered the picture. But Crown, now operating as a rogue military contractor, brought it back in an even more dangerous form and eventually recruited Wilkes. When Wilkes realized things had gone too far, he secretly contacted Nigel. Since Nigel couldn't move directly against Crown, he used Wilkes to monitor everything happening from the inside. After hearing all of this, Jack completely loses his patience. He explodes at Greer for dragging him into a deadly operation without telling him anything. The two immediately get into an argument that feels more like two brothers fighting than co-workers. Jack vents all of his frustration, but Greer fires right back, telling him to drop the self-righteous act before leading everyone into an emergency MI6 briefing. Using an encrypted flash drive recovered from Nigel's assassin, the team discovers surveillance photos of the Karakoram Mountains along the Pakistan-China border. But even more concerning are recent images from London, coded schematics, and several local bank records. The latest transaction happened only 4 days earlier at an ATM located near Middlesex Street and Harrow Place. The second Greer hears the location, his expression changes. He immediately recognizes it as Allgate, an operation he buried 20 years ago involving the PMN, a radical military faction that Starling had infiltrated. Their mission back then? To bomb Tower Bridge. Greer immediately orders Tower Bridge to be evacuated, but Spears pushes back. He refuses to shut down a major part of London based solely on the warning of an American intelligence officer, especially when Liam Crown is viewed by the British public as a decorated war hero and recipient of the Victoria Cross. With the situation spiraling fast, CIA Director Elizabeth Wright joins the operation, and Greer finally reveals the full story. Years earlier, Greer first crossed paths with Crown and Nigel during a mission connected to Karachi. Back then, the PMN was planning coordinated attacks across multiple countries, with London serving as the main target. Operation Starling responded with brutal methods, tearing through the PMN network through torture and extreme interrogation tactics until one lead pointed them toward Karachi's wealthiest district. There, they captured a PMN operative who turned out to be none other than the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Pakistani Army. Greer's interrogation eventually uncovered the Allgate safe house. But before Starling could finish the mission, the entire operation was abruptly shut down. The man later died in custody, and that incident officially became the reason for Greer's demotion. The team immediately moves into action and begins surveillance on the suspicious Allgate safe house. Before long, they notice a shady-looking operative walking out of the building. Mike follows him while Jack and Emma move inside to clear the location. Inside, they discover a massive stash of weapons along with highly detailed plans for Tower Bridge. But something feels off. Everything seems way too easy. Even the captured suspect insists the plans aren't his and claims he's nothing more than a courier. As Jack speaks with Greer over the phone about how suspiciously convenient this all feels, Elizabeth finishes calming tensions between CIA and MI6 leadership and heads back toward her vehicle. And then Jack suddenly realizes something. Crown isn't after London. He's after Greer. The Tower Bridge attack was never the real target. The entire thing was a distraction. Greer instantly understands and screams at Elizabeth to get away from the car. But he's too late. The vehicle erupts into a massive explosion. Jack sprints toward the flames in complete panic, thinking Greer has been killed, but somehow Greer emerges alive from the blast area. And then Crown does something unbelievably disrespectful. He casually waves at Greer from across the street before disappearing. Fueled by pure rage and adrenaline, Greer steals a vehicle and tears through London after him. But Crown's men quickly surround him. Just as Greer runs out of ammo, Jack and Mike crash straight into the scene and wipe out the attackers. A full firefight breaks out, but in the chaos, Crown slips away once again. Later, Elizabeth's body is prepared to be sent back to the United States, leaving everyone shaken. Killing the director of the CIA wasn't just bold, it was a direct declaration of war. With nowhere else to go, the team disappears underground into a secure bunker. There, they finally piece everything together. Crown intentionally planted the encrypted drive in Dubai to send them chasing fake leads while he carried out his real objective, eliminating the highest levels of American intelligence. Even worse, the mercenaries they killed in London aren't connected to PMN at all. They're members of Odinstadt, a dangerous Russian paramilitary terrorist group that Starling supposedly destroyed years ago. Crown is rebuilding these old networks one by one to prove a twisted point. Without Starling, the world falls apart. Greer then reveals Nigel's original mission in Dubai was to hand over intelligence capable of permanently shutting Crown down. Before they can dig deeper into the theory, an unexpected Uber Eats delivery suddenly arrives at the bunker. And that's when everyone freezes. They're supposed to be completely off the grid. Which means Crown already found them. Inside the package is a message directing Greer to a meeting location. Greer goes alone to confront Crown face to face. Crown doesn't waste time. He openly demands that Starling be restored, arguing that the Black Ops soldiers who fought secret wars for their country deserve their former status back. Then he casually reveals that he already spotted Jack and Mike hiding nearby. At that exact moment, a sniper laser locks directly onto Greer's chest. Crown says he's mainly there for one thing, the digital asset Nigel stole before dying. Greer says he doesn't have it. But Jack suddenly steps out and lies, claiming he has the asset hidden safely back in Dubai. For now, Crown accepts it and lets them leave, promising he'll come back for what belongs to him. Once they get away, Greer and Emma immediately turn on Jack, furious that he kept secret intel hidden from everyone. The asset is just a normal cigarette pack. Nigel knew Crown would assume something important changed hands during their meeting, so he intentionally created a fake trail. The real data was hidden somewhere else entirely. Following the clues leads the team back to Nigel's old office where they discover his outdated computer system. Jack bypasses the old security and powers it on, only to discover that Nigel never downloaded any files at all. Instead, the machine is receiving a live data transmission. Jack contacts CIA tech specialist Patrick to trace the signal source. While waiting, Jack mentally replays his meeting with Crown and suddenly remembers something strange. Crown referred to Emma as Blonde Ambition. That tiny detail changes everything. Emma is secretly Nigel's daughter, and that information was never officially recorded. Only one other person knew. Andrew Spears. The team immediately realizes Spears is the mole working for Crown. Jack now believes Nigel's true plan was to broadcast Crown's entire network directly to the CIA in real time so they could destroy everything at once. The transmission points back to one central server. And to expose the entire conspiracy, they have to return to Dubai. The team storms the same high-tech Dubai Marina skyscraper where the first agents were slaughtered. But Dubai's powerful surveillance system works against them. The same technology designed to prevent crime allows Crown to track their every move instantly. They get ambushed almost immediately. Emma nearly falls to her death when gunfire shatters the glass beneath her feet, but Jack catches her at the last second and pulls her back up. After fighting through waves of enemies, they finally reach the server room only to find a massive reinforced security door blocking the way. Thinking fast, Emma blows through a nearby wall, allowing the team to bypass the lock and break inside. With Patrick guiding them over comms, Jack connects directly into the server system. And finally, the truth appears on the screen. An entire registry of Crown's worldwide network containing every mercenary, corrupt official, and operative connected to him. But before the transfer reaches 100%, Crown arrives with heavily armed reinforcements. He throws a grenade directly into the server room. Explosions rip through the area, but Jack refuses to leave. He stays at the terminal until Patrick confirms one thing. The upload is complete. The entire network has been sent to CIA headquarters. The team escapes, but Emma is shot during the fight, and Jack refuses to abandon her. He distracts Crown long enough for Greer to arrive in a helicopter and absolutely unleash chaos on the building. Crown survives the attack but is badly injured. As he drags himself through the rubble, Jack walks forward and finally ends him once and for all. In the aftermath, Andrew Spears is arrested, Emma survives, and Greer sends a formal recommendation to the president naming Jack as his future deputy. By the end of everything, Jack, Mike, and Greer realize something important. After all the loss and chaos, they're the only family they really have left. And in the end, after all the betrayals, explosions, and chaos, Jack, Mike, and Greer walk away realizing they're more than just teammates at this point, they're family. But one thing still doesn't sit right with me. For a mastermind like Crown, keeping the same server network after the first breach feels like a huge mistake. Maybe he got too confident, and in the end, his own arrogance became the reason everything fell apart.